Hello. Hello. I am going to start today with the No Kings rally. I kind of want to know what our perspective is on the success of that rally. I might have a cat here with me in just a moment because he loves to join these. One of them anyway. The other one sometimes will walk in front too. Who knows? We'll see. Okay, so to begin this reading, we have the Knight of Pentacles. And Knight of Pentacles represents very methodical processes of getting things done. Very patient as well. Crossed by the Ace of Cups. And the Ace of Cups is, there we go. If you notice, women and fluidity. And the women are driving this. Feminine, divine spirit is part of what's driving this. At the base of the reading is the Four of Wands in reverse. And this card is the foundational card. It's the driving force below the hidden force. And the Four of Wands in reverse is about the turbulence. It's about the unrest. It's about the chaos that 45 has brought to our country, to the world. That's what's really behind it. Energy passing away is the moon upright. And the moon upright is all about the secrets and the things that have been hidden. There's a lot of information that's going to be coming out over the next It feels like when I first read this energy, it feels like the next 6 months. The next 6 weeks, excuse me. But it could also flex out to 6 months. So I see time. Sterling described time as like a slinky. It can, this small, what feels like a small amount of time can also stretch out. And when I hear people talk about what timeline we're on, that's kind of what I interpret that to mean is, are we here or is it going to stretch out? And so when I talk about all the information that's going to come out from the moon, all that hidden information, Epstein files being a really great example. It could be this short period of time, which is 6 weeks, or it could stretch out to 6 months. And where it falls in there, who knows? All right. Overarching energy, there we go, is the Six of Wands in reverse. And my dog is going to bark because apparently there's people out in front. Lots of delay, lots of doubt. A lot of people feeling like they have been, like their concerns have been ignored, not even heard. They're just like shut down, dismissed, ignored, doesn't matter to us. And that really says the thing. Hold on a moment. Okay. Dog might still bark. We'll see. All right. Coming to bear is the Knight of Cups reversed. And that is a manipulation of the messaging. So be very careful about what you hear. Check, double check, triple check. We are all victims of propaganda. All of us. Yep, there's a lot of it going on by our news agencies, by social media. Like you grab onto one little dot of information that feels like it resonates with you. Double check. We are being manipulated by propaganda. Internally, there's a lot of fighting going on. This is the Five of Wands. There's a lot of fighting going on. Now, is this arguments and tension among the people who are behind organizing the rallies? Or is this, and to me, as I'm reading that card, it feels like the rallies are creating a great deal of tension and argument and fighting internally in the administration of the felon in the White House. On our side, we're done. We're going to come at it with bold fight. We're done. We're done taking. We're done. We've had enough. And so these rallies are showing them, keep it up. We're done. So externally, we have the Hierophant. The Hierophant always represents structures, the systems, the government, the church, education, that kind of thing, the things that are supposedly very tightly controlled. And so who are we, the people fighting against these? We're fighting against all of those the things that were supposed to be well structured and have shown their cracks, have shown where the guardrails have come off the bus. Our hopes and fears of the future is the Ten of Cups upright. And the Ten of Cups is that we wish for a peaceful, we wish for peace and happiness. But I will say this. I've seen a lot of people say, gosh, I wish we could just go back to where we were. We will never go back to where we were. And we should not, because where we were, there's a lot of really big issues that got swept under the carpet, that got ignored. And we can't do that again. If we do that again, if we ignore those big issues, and those big issues are too many to enumerate here, but a sampling is racism and racial inequity, socioeconomic inequity, and how people in marginalized groups are treated. Those things have to be addressed. And if they are not, they will repeat again and again and again until they are addressed. Finally, our outcome over the next 3 months, thereabouts, is the Hermit in reverse. And the Hermit in reverse Um, a lot of isolation, but that doesn't really make sense. A lot of mistrust. All right, let me pull out another. So this is that part of the column was 3 to 6 months. I'm going to go, or sorry, 0 to 3 months. I'm going to go out a full year. Let's take a look at that. So internally, there's a lot of stress, a lot of sleeplessness, a lot of tension, a lot of anxiety. And that's internally in the 3 to 6 month row. Externally, it looks like everything's fallen apart. Now, so this reading was supposed to look at the No Kings Rally and how successful we're going to be with it. And I feel like this is a reflection of the felon's administration and all the people around him. So these rallies are causing a great deal of stress and anxiety among the 45 administration. They're going to fall apart. They're going to explode. They're going to implode. They're going to fall apart. Again, this is the 3 to 6 month window. Hopes and fears is the high priestess. And what that means is awareness. The things that have been hidden are coming to light. That is our hope. This is my sir. This is Hershey. Hello, buddy. And then finally, we have the 6 of Pentacles in reverse as the outcome. We're not going to feel like we've got a fair outcome yet. No, sir, you don't get to do that. Not in the 3 to 6 month range. Okay, in the 6 to 12 month column internally is the Knight of Swords reversed. This is more tyranny, more deceitfulness. And so in these column reading portions, this really feels like it is the administration and not the developers and organizers of the rallies. Next, externally, we have the Magician. And this is somebody who very skillful in what they do. Very confident, very creative. They make things happen. Next, we have the 9 of Wands reversed. Upright. There's a lot of imagery in this. Notice how this person is battle weary. They've got a bandage on their head and on their arm. They've survived the battle. Maybe not well. In reverse, this is somebody who's very frustrated and defensive. A lot of anxiety still. Obstinate. Yeah, that really. Oppositional defiant disorder. That would describe 45 to a T. And then finally is the 10 of Wands. A lot of burden here. So this fight is going to go on. And in my head, what I'm hearing is revolution. Very interesting. Very interesting. Okay, so next, I want to look at I saw in ground news. I get the email. I did have a subscription to it, and I ended it because I made some changes in my life that impacted my financials. So I'm being a little more conservative. But I did see, so I still get their emails with current news topics. And I saw that Kaiser Permanente nurses and other healthcare workers are on strike. They want better wages. They want better staffing. And I had a visit with a doctor 2 weeks ago who said that they'd gone to a conference in New Mexico where it is 6 months to a year to get a standard MRI. And in that visit, I talked about the fact that states used to offer student loan forgiveness for new graduates who would go and practice in rural areas. And that went away somewhere in the last 25 years. I'd put it 15-ish feels right, but we'll see. And in so doing, because they took away that option from a lot of people, there's a couple thoughts behind what that has translated to. So let me kind of get back to it. But by taking away that opportunity, it means that people who go to medical school using student loans to get through, they're looking at student loan debt of between $500,000 and $750,000. And so that is a giant amount of student loan debt. And not having that opportunity is a barrier now for people going back to school. So what I was talking about a moment ago about how that influences people who are newly graduated. If somebody is a new graduate from medical school and they take up, if that program was still offered, then a new graduate would move to a rural area and practice in a rural area, and then have their student loan debt paid off, like incrementally paid down or off. It means that doctor is really stuck as a rural doctor for the entirety of their career. And there are a lot of new graduates who really want to practice in a larger city first to be able to make their money quickly and to pay off that student loan debt. And that has been more financially rewarding to new doctors, but then they're also very often stuck in that path. So I want to know what's going to happen with this Permanente strike. And whether the nurses are going to win or Kaiser's going to win. Right off the bat, I feel like it's a blend. I feel like the nurses will get better wages. They're not going to get more time off. I don't know that they're going to get better staffing. All kinds of cards flopping out. All right, let's do this anyway. Yeah, that's what I just thought is what's coming out. Okay, so at the heart of the matter is strength. And this is somebody who is both mentally and physically strong. This this strike has major teeth. Um, Crossed by the Nine of Swords in reverse, which means that they need to be very patient. Hmm. Like I feel like the part about the better wages that will come soon, but the part about better staffing, that's not an easy fix. People are not going into healthcare because it is such, like, I don't want to say that people aren't going into healthcare, but they're not taking on that educational burden to become a medical doctor. A basic general practitioner is 7 years of education at minimum. And then if you want to specialize, you're looking at another 3 to 8 years. And if you consider that every year of education is $100,000 of student loan debt or out of pocket, if they're of a socioeconomic status that they can pay for it out of pocket, that's what you're looking at. It's still $100,000 a year. And I don't believe that's including living expenses. So, anyway, to get people to staff what they need to staff means that more people have to go through the educational system. There's a lot more reliance on nurse practitioners, which is ideal. In my opinion, when I pick a new caretaker, whenever possible, I go with a nurse practitioner. Um, for a number of reasons. The biggest one that I choose a nurse practitioner for is because they often spend more time. They often listen better than a medical doctor. And I don't know if y'all know this about me, but I'm a little bit of a bossy Bob, and I advocate for my own health care and my husband's health care a lot. But also my educational background, trying to decide how much to say here. Um, I have a lot of knowledge, and with that, I tend to call people out a little more often, and that does not always go over well. I'm going to leave it there. So, anyway, um, I think if they can get more people through the ARNP programs, that staffing issue will be addressed better. But they need more nurses, and to get more nurses, there has to be more program openings. And having, so a big part of I've had 3 major careers in my adulthood. And my current, most recent career, if you will, is in higher education. And I can tell you this, it takes 2 years of general education and prerequisite classes, and then 2 years of RN classes to become, just an RN, a registered nurse. It takes another 2 years to become a registered nurse. So that's a 4-year education, typically at a community college. And then if they want their bachelor's in science of nursing, it's another 2 years. To become an MSN or a family nurse practitioner or an ARNP, you're looking at another couple of years, and it gets harder and more expensive the further along you go. A lot of nurses burn out because of the hours and the incredible, very tight structure of being a nurse and doing that work. It is really hard work. To say damned if you do, damned if you don't is an understatement. All right, so I've waxed. Here we go. Let's talk about, at the base of this is the Eight of Wands reversed. And this is at the base of the strike, and who's going to come out the, if you will, the winner. At the base of this reading is the Eight of Wands reversed. They don't trust healthcare leadership to do right by them. A lot of frustrations, a lot of delay. Energy passing away is the Nine of Pentacles in reverse. That's interesting. Healthcare leaders see this as the people striking who want better wages and better coverage, as people who want more without having the, like, they want a handout. That's how they're seeing this. They want a handout. Give me something for no more, for no change. And so those leaders are going to go to the bargaining table and demand more from the nurses, even though the nurses really have nothing left to give, and other healthcare workers. So that could be nurse technicians, commonly known as certified nurses aides. That could be respiratory. That could be phlebotomy. Could be doctors. But doctors, they bargain differently usually. So, but that energy is why they really went on strike, is because the leadership was like, no, we're not going to give you more money unless you give us something back. And they've tried to bargain, but the nurses are the healthcare workers, they're not having it, nor should they really, because if I have a really good knowledge of what it means to run a healthcare business. And healthcare and higher education are two of the most constricted industries in the country. Yeah, I'll leave it there. All right. Overarching energy is the Page of Wands. This is let's just say that healthcare leadership has reached the find out stage. We'll go there. Coming to bear is the Five of Cups. There are going to be some losses and there are going to be some gains. And in this, if you notice this card here, there are 3 cups knocked over, which indicates that those are losses. But over here, there we go. Over here, it's backwards. It's hard to read, hard to point to. On this side of the card, there are cups that are still upstanding. And in the background, there's water flowing and a bridge. So that water flowing is opportunity. These cups over here are still full, but some of the things that they're asking for are going to be told no. Some are yes. And then there's still opportunity in the background, and there's a bridge. which tells me while they don't get everything that they want, they are going to get some of what they want. And part of the reason for this is the Hierophant, and that is the very, very tight structure of the healthcare industry. A lot of that is federal laws and accrediting bodies. You know, that legal and the ethical framework and a demand for continuous improvement. Everything has to have a process. And when those processes are not followed, very often that healthcare worker is let go. But the healthcare industry very often forces the workers to take shortcuts because they are so overwhelmed in their job, which is why this group is on strike. Okay. Externally is the Seven of Pentacles upright. This card represents a lot of planning, a lot of perseverance, a lot of evidence. Pentacles always represent wealth, and wealth can be described in a number of different ways. There's financial wealth, there's health, ultimately, the bottom line is what the healthcare industry can or cannot afford to do. And between the very tight constriction of how healthcare industry is run, along with the budget cuts in the $800 billion in Medicaid funding cut, that means a lot of jobs have been cut, and they're not moving those jobs to other places in that healthcare organization. They can't keep them on. They don't have that income. And unless that income is replaced somewhere that they know is guaranteed income, not going to happen. All right. Hopes and fears of the future is the World. 1 foot in one foot in another world. So this could go either way. Their hopes is that they're going to get everything that they've worked for, everything that they're asking. The outcome, unfortunately, is the Four of Swords in reverse. Upright, the Four of Swords is introspection, but it's about a really serious issue. In reverse, this is their focus is the exhaustion, is the burnout, is the really long hours. The stress that comes with the job. Okay. Next. So we've been hearing about those ships from Venezuela that have been targeted for attacks by the U.S. They're supposedly drug running, but we have no... Okay, so listening to the news, we have no proof that they are actually... that they're actually running drugs. And there's been talk that United Nations is seeing this as a crime against humanity. So I want to know where this is going. I also heard that question to Trump, is this a ploy to get rid of Maduro, which is the man who has remained as president in Venezuela, even though Venezuelans voted in the woman who just got the Nobel Peace Prize. So let's take a look at what's behind those. Okay, well, this is interesting. All right, so I am using the Governance Oracle by Trish James. And the cards that I pulled for this, and this is the Venezuelan and the attacks on the Venezuelan ships that are supposedly drug running ships. It is part of our national defense and part selfish agenda by 45. He is dodging questions because he's withholding knowledge. And yes, this is for money and power. And Maduro, who is basically, he stayed in government, a coup, an overtake by an authoritarian. They're going to take him down. So when I look off that way, what I'm really seeing is a movie in my head. And what I'm seeing right now with Maduro is that I'm seeing cars driving by. I'm seeing GUNS out and unaliving. A snapper, and put an I in the middle of that instead of an A, hit. So that's what I'm seeing with that. All right. Since I have not seen any questions from viewers today, I'm going to do a couple quick wrap-up items. One is I want to focus on where you need to put your energy and self-care this week. With all that's going on, I'm very hopeful that you are taking time to take care of yourself. Disconnect from the news. I really feel like since COVID was a free-for-all, and we have not recovered mentally from that, if you will. And then we had 45. And if you're watching this channel, you probably know that the NSA in December knew that the election had been illegally manipulated. Yes, I'm choosing my words carefully. All right, so where do we put our energy this week? The first card is breathe. The calmer you are, the more time slows down, and the easier it is to get everything done. It's really hard for me to tell you all the things that are in my head without giving away a lot too much information about me. So when we are overwhelmed, our nervous system goes on. It's like there's too much input, which makes every other form of input really hard to deal with. And so part of recovery from that is to decrease the amount of input that you're experiencing. For myself, what I noticed when my nervous system was feeling overwhelmed, I could not listen to music because it was just too much. Bright lights, loud noises, any of that, it set my body on fire. I felt like I wanted to get away from it as soon as I could. So part of that is self-care and breathing, grouping your tasks into 2-hour, this is what I can get done, instead of looking at everything that you have to do and weeks out. You can do a Gantt chart, a GANTT, a Gantt chart, and say, this is a project, these are the steps that have to be done. You look at step 1 and then break that part down into mini steps. This is the part of the project that has to be done. You can do that for cleaning your house. Really? Right? Like, this room has to be cleaned. These are the steps that need to clean the house. Got to throw away the trash. Got to put things away that don't belong in that room. Got to put things away that do belong in that room. Then I do the dishes. Then I sweep the floor. Then I mop the floor. There you go. Those are your steps for cleaning the kitchen. But what if the kitchen doesn't have to be cleaned today? It's 2 weeks down the road. Very often, a lot of us are thinking, oh, I got to clean the kitchen in 2 weeks. You and I both know you're not going to clean. Well, hopefully you're going to clean your kitchen sooner than that. Hopefully. I understand if you can't. I understand if you don't. Get it. Been there, done that. Boy, do I understand. If part of that project is 2 weeks down the road or 4 weeks down the road, focusing on what has to be done now and next week and the week after and the week after, and keeping all of that in your head, it's too much. And that is part of what's overwhelming your nervous system. Getting inputs from multiple different locations. For me, I recently left my full-time job for personal reasons, and I'm not going to go into those in these videos. But in that full-time role, I had email and I had Teams communications. And I shut off one of those. I shut off the Teams communication. I did not communicate much in Teams, but a lot of my colleagues did. But I just this is not my way of communicating. I communicated via email. But there were days that I would get on and I would have 50 emails to deal with. And that alone is overwhelming, and then have to do all the work that needed to be done that day. So taking it in chunks, like this is what I can get done in 2 hours. I'm going to work on this for 2 hours. And if that is responding to an email that just simply says, I'm responding to acknowledge your email. This is something that I can look at by whatever date. That worked for me. That helped me get a tighter rein on my to-do list, and I could plan that out. So that is part of controlling that those inputs that your nervous system has to acknowledge and deal with, right? Okay, so what else do you need to look at this week? Truth. Truth is different at different levels of consciousness. So reserve judgment. To me, this is reserving judgment against others and yourself, really. We are our loudest critics. We beat ourselves up. And that is part of the conditioning, the social conditioning, that, and it doesn't matter what your background is, you are conditioned to believe the way you do. And what you believe about yourself, because other people have said, oh, you're this or you're that, they've judged you. And so you believe what they say. Don't believe everything you hear. Not everybody has your best interest at heart. And even people who have your best interest at heart may not be telling you the truth, the universal truth, the divine spirit truth, because of their own social conditioning, the propaganda that they've been fed. And then finally is energy. Stop trying to please everyone. And everyone is a whole lot of people. Protect your energy. That this last card about truth and judgment, reserve judgment, and that there's different levels. Truth is different at different levels of consciousness. And that first card was breathe. Where did they put that? I don't. So as you when you breathe and you slow your energy down, you're able to control your body better. And then energy and truth. When you allow other people in your head, and when you have that self-doubt and that negative conversation about yourself in your head, you know who I'm talking to, right? If this is you, this message is to you. One of the things that I did for years was I had a quote up on the mirror. It was an affirmation quote, and it was, God did not put you here to be small. Did not put you here to stay within boundaries that other people set for you. God put you here because you are a unique individual, and you have the power to lean in to who you really are. And so that's my self-care message for the week. Okay, so no questions today from the audience, and because that covers my list of topics that I wanted to get through today, I'm going to end the video here, and I hope that you have a great rest of your day and a great weekend. Today is Saturday, October 18th, and I hope that you were able to attend a No Kings rally and that it was a safe event for you. And on that note, I'm going to end this by saying that you are made of stardust and a bit of magic. You are far more powerful than you realize, and you are profoundly loved. On that note, thank you so much. Bye-bye now.